Well, it's Monday time recording. David Ashford is with us. I have no particular question section with you, which is just exactly where we're going here. Things are really levelling off. I suppose I would like to start about PAC, of course, and your evidence and other evidence. Well, no one can say you didn't come out fighting, but I didn't hear the rebuttal.
Yeah, so in terms of the rebuttal, we did answer some of the questions in the PAC. There's also been a mound of evidence given to the PAC. I think they've had in excess of 600 emails in total around everything, and some of that evidence will be, of course, published with the inquiry as well.
You did say a point-by-point rebuttal, and
which was before we were invited to the PAC.
Yeah, but you still said you were going to do one, even.
Yeah, so well, if you want me to cover some of the topics,
well, I want to
then
see.
I'm willing to go over them, Paul.
Well, I think Miss Edgerton, she said, "Will you be releasing a point-by-point rebuttal?" Is that on your?
And within the PAC, I stated that we'd come along today and we were giving evidence to the committee.
So you're not going to release a point-by-point rebuttal?
Most of the points most of the points have now been covered.
But there's that statement, your rebuttal. Next statement, rebuttal. That's not going to happen now.
No, because that was before we were invited to the PAC.
Right.
So we've given evidence now at the PAC, where it's given the department an opportunity to clarify. We've given the PAC all the evidence around the points that were raised. There were specific points I did raise in the PAC, particularly with reference to myself, where, for instance, it was stated that that someone wouldn't be listened to if they were a contractor, because they're not a full-time member of staff. Categorically can say, and the PAC's now got the emails of that, can categorically say that that was not stated, that was not the case. And also the interview that was referred to on Manx Radio, where it was said that I'd mentioned about not being a contractor, so wouldn't be listened to. That interview is still online if anyone wants to go and see it, and it's actually headed up Minister Praises Dr. Glover.
And Dr. Glover's tweeted that she ain't happy with some of your answers. I mean, don't put words into her mouth there, but she says, she said what she said, and you must have read that as well. So we have two polar opposites still here. Is anyone going to be able to get this together at all now?
I don't know. As I said in the hearing, I'm not sure if the relationship can be repaired in that way. Dr. Glover's been appointed to the Emergency Advisory Committee, for which I'm delighted.
How does that happen? Take us through that one. Who appoints who on that?
So there was an interview panel. I believe that it was headed up by Minister Skelly.
You were
and Mr. Crageen. No, I wouldn't be. It was two representatives of Council of Ministers. Dr. Glover was successful, and I think she'll be excellent on the.
So you'll now be working together.
Well, she'll be advising Council of Ministers via the Emergency Advisory Group.
I think still people are concerned maybe the way the information was coming out, that she desperately wanted to get the information directly to the Council of Ministers, but was thwarted by the system of bronze,
it's not thwarting,
silver,
as I explained in PAC. It is a governance structure. Governance structures exist in private sector companies as well, because it is important that Council of Ministers gets a broad range of advice, that it doesn't just come from one source. It's not about who shouts the loudest and one view predominates. It's got to go through a governance process to be censor checked, ensure it's correct. And we have to remember that Council of Ministers doesn't look at things in isolation. They look at things in the whole picture. So, when you're looking at testing, it's not just about testing, it's about what are you doing with the borders? How is testing linking with that? What are you doing around isolation? How does that impact the economy? How does that impact society? There's wider pictures there than just looking particularly at certain types of testing. That has to feed into the mix, but it can't be considered in isolation.
It must be frustrating though when you've got a point to make and it goes through this system and it can end up not being quite what was said initially, but diluted or whatever. Isn't there some case to be said, look, you've got something to say to me, and you did meet her, didn't you? So
yes, I did.
She had some information to impart to you, and she felt that had to go straight to you.
But
really.
I can't meet with everyone as Minister, Paul, unfortunately, constantly, and that would.
She's not anyone though, is she?
Well, hang on. She was working for the department at the time. In a role, whether it be as a contractor or full-time employee. As I said at PAC, from my point of view, that doesn't actually matter. Everyone's view is of equal merit. But if you're going to make decisions with Council of Ministers, there's got to be formal papers, and they've got to contain a multitude of different advice and have been through the governance process. That's the exact same procedure I've had when I've worked for companies in the private sector.
Where do we go from here, though, now? I mean, you were chastised by members of that committee. It didn't play particularly well, maybe, how the government had handled things. I know you came out, as you would do, you'd never, ever not have a response. But do you think things have been damaged a bit here, with the confidence levels about how things are handled here in the Isle of Man.
No, I don't think so at all. I think that, as I said at the PAC, I think that things were handled in the correct way. And it's all great looking back with hindsight, but we have to remember we were in the middle of a worldwide pandemic. Things weren't just changing daily, they were changing hourly. And if people think that you can stick with everything as it normally is in normal times, I'm afraid personally I think they're a bit deluded if anyone thinks that. You've got to adapt the processes, because there isn't always time when making decisions to go through a couple of days worth of consideration and processes. We were having to make decisions in real time that affected the lives of people here on Ireland, because pausing for 2 or 3 days while papers were drawn up, while it went through DHSC, while it went then on to a Council of Ministers, it just was not practical to do so.
Let's look at the steam packet. I mean, that was pretty damning as well, wasn't it? I mean, there was no punches pulled on that one. Clearly, different opinion, and and as we're doing this, we're still waiting for this report, of course, which hasn't come out.
Yeah,
Have you seen it?
I haven't seen it. The independent report is due out. I don't know if it's due this week. There was an interview the Chief Minister gave, and it suggested it might be this week that it's due for publication. But to date, I haven't seen it, so I don't know what the independent review has concluded.
What did you make to the testimony they've given there from the steam packet?
Well, certainly I can say categorically as Minister for Health that my point of view was they were isolating in line with the advice that had been given.
You really thought they were?
Yep, and
for the whole year?
And that's the advice that was given to Council of Ministers.
And everyone just thought that was the case? No one once even questioned it or thought that can't be right?
Well, that was the answer that kept coming back.
From
continuously from Council of Ministers through the chain, through Public Health.
Who was giving you that information?
Well, like I just said, feed-in was via Public Health and also from the Cabinet Office.
Who was the person? Forget this.
Well, it's
down
a mix
the
of
line.
people, Paul. It's not just
but somebody
one individual.
had to check it. Someone has to when the music stops.
And we will know from the independent report.
Okay.
Where the chain of events broke down. But certainly from the Council of Ministers' point of view, and it was asked on several occasions, that they were isolating in accordance with direction notices.
You never thought that was strange?
Well, no, because don't forget the direction notice changed over the 12 months as well, Paul. It wasn't one direction notice from start to finish. There was various different direction notices in place at different stages.
So when the stuff hit the fan, then you think, gosh, we got that one really wrong, didn't we?
Well, that was when it got raised, around when it first became clear that there was
when I read out that press
occurring.
thing. Yeah.
Well, no, it wasn't just from that.
No,
there
was the final sort of
that.
nail.
But certainly from Council of Ministers' point of view, prior to that, everything we had received and everything we'd said was in relation to the fact they were isolating in accordance with the direction notice.
Will somebody be responsible for this?
Well, we'll see what the independent report says, and as the Chief Minister has said previously, if criminality comes out of the independent report, then it'll be referred to the police.
So, okay. So there could be more issues going on with that.
So let's not anticipate what's in the report. Let's wait and see
when
it comes out. Because
we'll chat next week probably about this one.
As good as I am, Paul, I can't comment on a report I haven't seen.
Interesting, you haven't seen it. I mean, did they not send it to you guys for sort of first?
No, it's a Chief Minister's report. It will go to the Chief Minister.
He can't reject anything?
No, the Chief Minister's made clear he will publish the report.
As is.
Personal details may be removed in line with GDPR,
yeah.
But he's made absolutely clear that committed that the independent report will be published.
And talking about police issues, where are we with Abbotswood now? Any more movement?
Again, it's still with the police. Again, I don't get informed on police investigations. That's a matter for Isle of Man Constabulary. And I'm sure they will make public announcements in due course when the constabulary is ready to do so.
Okay. Well, the Chief Minister's having one of his little events today, Zooming things. I'm not probably going to be there at it. I think we should have these back in person, but that's another matter. But I suppose the fact is there anything dynamite? I know you're not going to release it, but okay. Should people watch the videos today? I mean, is it going to be earth-shattering news?
So we'll be making we're holding a press conference to discuss the next round of border changes that are due to come up.
Yes.
Obviously, I can't foretell in this interview exactly what's going to what's going to be said.
Yeah.
But in terms of the border changes, that's what it's for. So although there's a press conference being called, there is no reason for people to panic, as we have said many a time.
And that is the thing, isn't it? People don't just rush out for the loo rolls yet.
I notice all the media channels have correctly been reporting it is around the border changes.
Yes.
There is no other form of news, certainly as I'm aware of at this time, of doing an interview that needs to be communicated to the public other than that. And
before we finish, anything you can communicate to us today that I haven't thought of today? Something that's moving or something that's positive? I mean, obviously the Indian variant is still being talked about in the media, but Seems that
it is a very positive report that came out yesterday from Oxford, looking at the vaccine effectiveness against the Indian variant, and it's found that the vaccine is still effective against the Indian variant, so that's very positive news.
And the UK are moving it up a bit, aren't they? Is it selected areas? They're going to go to 9 weeks or something now?
Yeah, so they're going into specific areas to boost first doses where they're trying to get more of the population. We're already in a much better place in the UK with over 80% of our adult population already vaccinated and over 70% of the general population vaccinated. In terms of second doses as well, the UK is starting to speed some of those up. But again, we already in the next 2 weeks are moving into our main second dose phase, so we will have a good portion of the over 50s vaccinated within the next fortnight anyway.
And as always, to ask you how our supplies are doing, has any more disruptions to the chain, or we're okay?
I don't like to curse myself, Paul, so I'm going to cling to wood.
Yes.
But at the moment, the supply chain is coming through as expected. And like I say, the concentration, as I announced several months ago, for the next 6 to 8 weeks will be on second doses, which people will see coming through from today.
And this business about which one that people want, any more on that? Are you seeing a shift in what you're getting supply-wise, or is it still
the supplies
lucky dip?
The supplies aren't lucky dip. They are what has always been said we would feed through between now and September. We're getting those supplies in line with the deliveries.
And if you had Pfizer the first time, Pfizer second time, Oxford
yes, you can't mix and match still at the moment.
And no reason to shorten our timescale. That's
no, well, like I say, at the moment we're going into our big bulk of second doses anyway from this week. So we, in that sense, are ahead of the UK programme in the fact we are shooting rapidly into second doses, and we are ahead in first doses of the UK as it stands anyway.
Of course, it's a big day in the UK. Well, England, Ireland, even Scotland to some degree, but they've opened up slightly more, aren't they? So everything's still on track.
There is. The Prime Minister obviously has urged caution. Boris Johnson's urged a lot of caution, as we urge caution as we continue to open up. But we are all on a path where we have to now live with COVID, and the world has to come to terms with this disease.